Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review. Today we're going to be doing my comic load for the week. Now you must excuse me, my voice is a little raspy maybe, for lack of a better term. See, yesterday was Friday, one of the longer days at work. I worked 12 hours, and then after working 12 hours I did my bi-weekly D&D meeting. We meet every other week at D&D and we play D&D. So we play D&D until probably 7 to I want to say 11:30, which isn't that long of a session. But then I proceeded to play some Mega Man collection, Mega Man 8 specifically, the last Mega Man game I had to go beat with my buddy, and we played that until like 1:30 in the morning. So I had been up since 5 in the morning roughly till 1:30 in the morning, and then I just crashed. So you can tell that I'm barely awake by my ragadocious hair that's probably being held up like so because of the hair gel that was in there. And my voice is a bit raspy, so just waking up. In addition to that, I have a full day ahead of me today. Gonna go venue shopping with my fiance, and then we're gonna go out and have a big dinner with my buddies. So a lot of stuff happening. Before I actually get into the comics, I want to say that I did forget to pick up one comic this week, and that was TMNT's Secret Origin of the Foot Clan. I am going to pick it up today, but I just forgot to get it this week. And this is a big week, probably the biggest week of the month, I think. And we have a lot to get into, so we might as well start where we always start, with a little bit of Batman in our life, with Nightwing, issue number 16, part of the Death of the Family story. Oh, clear that throat. Ooh. So, anyways, this is a continuation of Nightwing's aspect of the Death of the Family. Basically, Joker's trying to screw with him, trying to screw with Haley Circus, basically attacking him on all fronts. And it's Nightwing trying to survive. This follows the standard pattern that all the Death in the Family crossovers have kind of followed, in that they fight the Joker. Joker eventually gets the upper hand, captures them, leads into Batman issue 16. And that's basically what follows with Nightwing. Nightwing faces the Joker. Eventually, Joker gets the upper hand. But how he gets the upper hand is up to debate. Uh, so we'll just get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. I felt the emotion was real here, and I felt as though out of all the Death in the Families, this one was probably the one that felt most, I don't know, realish. That makes sense. One would say maybe Jason Todd's or Batgirl's, but the thing is when I think Dick Grayson, I think the second in command to the Bat family, the one that Bruce turns to for advice, or the one that Bruce turns to get the shit done that needs to get done. Basically, the second in command, and he really is. He's been Batman. He's led the Bat family. He is by and by an A plus character, an A-list character in the Batman universe. With that said, him fighting the Joker shouldn't seem like, oh shit, he's attacking the Bat family and all of the minor characters. He's attacking Nightwing, one of the major Batman family characters. I don't know if that makes sense, but I felt as though there was a little bit more here with the atmosphere with Nightwing. That's not to say his was the most emotional. No, that goes to Batgirl. Or maybe the most intense. No, that goes to Red Hood. It just felt as though it had more of a big time feel to it. Um, so I did like that. The art was gorgeous. The fighting was pretty good. Bad is the fact that it does follow the status quo that we've been getting with the Death in the Family tie-ins. Joker eventually gets upper hands, leads into Batman issue 16. With that, I felt a little disappointed. That, and at the end, I felt Joker just kind of out of nowhere gains the upper hand on Nightwing. I figure out of all the Batman family characters, Nightwing would be one of the harder ones to take down because it's Nightwing. He was once Batman. In the old 52, he led the Justice League with Donna Troy. He's not a minor character, so. But then again, it is the Joker. What are you gonna say? Whether or not you should get it, this was an okay issue. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Nothing special, but I think it's probably because Kyle Higgins has to follow the Death in the Family format. I'm interested to see what happens after Death in the Family is over with Nightwing. Into another Death of the Family crossover, that would be Red Hood and the Outlaws issue number 16. Do you know what this is? It's really Outlaws issue number 16 because Red Hood doesn't show up in it at all. This is basically the Teen Titans and the Outlaws trying to deal with all those Joker infected people. And who really takes up and becomes kind of leader of this crossover is pretty evident in the early goings. But exactly what they have to do, which could be a drastic thing, to take on all these Joker infected people is really questionable. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good is I felt as though I might as well reveal it. Roy Harper is the star of this issue. He steps up. He really does feel like he feels like a leader. He really does show that there's more of the character than the trucker had in the witty remarks. The crossover felt fairly natural. I felt as though the Titans and the Outlaws worked well together. There was enough witty banter behind all of them. And the ending, there's a lead into what will happen with the next story arc. The Outlaws are basically going to go up against a major DC character. And I don't want to reveal who. But I'm pretty excited for that crossover. It's going to be intense. Bad, there's no Red Hood in this, and with a series that is focusing on the Joker, I figured Red Hood would be front and center. And two, the actual story itself is, I don't want to say weak or bad, it's just not overly interesting. Like, we have all this shit going on with the Joker. Let's deal with the Joker's infected homeless people. I mean, I would have liked a little bit more of Jason dealing with Joker on the side. But then again, Jason was taken care of in the previous issue. On the whole, this issue was, I think, the better of the two Death in the Family crossovers. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. Had some good stuff in there, but it didn't blow me away. So, on to Catwoman issue number 16. So basically, this is part of the Black Diamond probabilities that's been going through the DC Comics. Basically, it's been in Team 7, Jonah Hex, and Catwoman. And it's just different stories involving the Eclipso gem. If you don't know who Calypso is, he's Eclipso. He's a psycho, crazy, possessing demon-ish thing. I'm not exactly sure what Eclipso falls under, but because they changed him a little bit in the New 52. But anyone holding the gem will basically be infected and then eventually possessed by Calypso's Eclipso's spirit. I said Calypso. So basically, Catwoman is in Argus and in their secret vault, and she has the Eclipso gem, and she's being infected. And this whole time, she's trying to fight it. Well, demons and various different trinkets in the Argos vault is attacking her. Will Catwoman be able to break the hold, or will it make her descend more and more into madness? And what truths of Catwoman get revealed at the end? Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Um, Good is I like that they're trying to tie Catwoman a little bit more into what will be the Justice League of America. The art was fairly good, and I thought the dialogue through most of it was better than it was in the previous issue. Bad, I felt as though this just felt a little out of place for Catwoman story-wise. It's not kind of something that she would do. In addition to that, the ending was confusing and silly and kind of just contrived and put together. On a whole, Catwoman gets a 2.5 out of 5 this week. Nothing really to write home to, but not insulting at all. It's just kind of there. I felt as though Catwoman kind of took a huge step away from what Judd Winnick was doing with her. Batwoman issue number 16. So basically, Batwoman and Wonder Woman are going up against Medusa, the actual mythological Medusa, and all of her demon, hellspawn, mythological monsters, being the queen of monsters, although her mother's really the queen of monsters, but we won't get into that. And it's just that, it's them fighting Medusa. And while this is going on, we also get the return of Flamebird in here, and we get to see everyone's feelings and emotions while this is going on. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good, I felt as though Medusa looked good, and I liked how all these various different threads of the Batwoman comic is finally coming together. It's a lot of build up and setup paying off, which is good. Um, I liked how the panels were set up and how the dialogue was set up, and I felt as though everyone had a stake in this. and the emotion felt real. Bad, there's only really two bads. One is, as good as this crossover and as good as this story is, it still feels a little out of place to have Medusa in there. It just feels out of place. The other thing is where the hell is Batman? I understand Batman can't be everywhere at once. That's fine. But this is Gotham being attacked by mythological creatures like Medusa. Where's Batman? It's definitely not happening during the Throne of Atlantis because Wonder Woman's here. So is it happening during Death of the Family? I mean, I understand, yes, you don't need to give an explanation of where Batman is. You can just have suspension of disbelief. But as a comic book fan, I still kind of want to know why. It's like being in Metropolis and then Brainiac attacks and Superman's not around. Everyone else kind of just does it. Feels a little off. On the whole, this was a fun issue. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Enjoyed it. Continue picking it up. What they did is they took all the ads and they put them at the end. So it felt like a short issue, but it's really not. Moving on is the last of the Bat family is Birds of Prey issue 16. So we get Strikes, who is the new member, the Talon here, and basically it's her incorporation into the family of Birds of Prey and all the witty snarkiness that goes with it. Basically, I feel as though DC's trying to make Strikes the new Cassandra Cain in a way, and I'll divulge into that a bit. I think Cassandra Cain would actually be good on this team. Um, well, I'm not opposed to the new character, and I do like the fact that the Court of Owls are being used in places outside of Batman, with different creative minds being used for them. Um, and I'm kind of going off on a bit of a tangent. I would have liked Cassandra Cain in this. I think she would have fit better. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that not whine, but get upset that some of their favorite characters aren't in the New 52. Characters such as Wally West, Cassandra Cain, Stephanie Brown, and my girl, Donna Troy. Donna Troy is my fourth favorite comic book character ever, and she's not in the New 52 at all. It hurts me, but I understand why it's happening. The thing is in a situation like this where you can naturally have a character like Cassandra Cain be brought into the Birds of Prey, it's a great idea because while the character may not be strong on her own, just imagine the interactions with Black Canary and Barbara Gordon and Starling you can have with Cassandra Cain in there. Digressing a bit back to what I was talking about with the actual comic itself, putting anything aside, I do like Strikes as a character, and I did say I did like how the Court of Owls are being utilized in a different way. Um, the dialogue is fun and witty here. The team building is good here. And while not much happens in way of story, it does a fantastic job at doing that. In that we don't get much story until, let me just see, the last 4 pages of them moving onwards, and we get more of Black Canary's power tweaking out. But really, the majority of this issue is just team building, and it's really actually fun. 4.5 out of 5. Birds of Prey was fun this week, and this comic is really kind of the comic people don't talk about in the Batman family that much, but it's really actually been a solid comic through and through. Moving outside of Batman, we're going into Swords of Sorcery, Amethyst, featuring Constantine in there too. Uh, Basically, this tells the transition of Amethyst comic going over to Justice League Dark for a short time, and then eventually returning back to Amethyst. Um, in this, we get to see a bit more of a display of her powers and her trying to cope with being away from our main planar continuity from her home continuity. And we see that time passes differently. In her having to deal with a psycho in our world. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. I felt as though everyone felt in character. I liked the dialogue between Constantine and Amethyst, and I felt as though there was real potential there for a relationship, almost a mentoring or big brother relationship in a way. And that kind of Constantine cares about her but says snarky remarks kind of shit. The art was good. I felt as though Amethyst was utilized very well as a character in how she thought and how she moved and how she acted and how she was able to defeat the enemy. And it did kind of transition things from Justice League Dark and Amethyst together. So we kind of got that bridge. Bad. With a comic that is very story driven with all the different internal workings and the momentum we had with it, I felt as though this was a momentum stop. One thing I can say about Amethyst and Sword of Sorcery is that it has a fantastic story, in that the story is really the driving force. Although Amethyst is a enjoyable character, excuse me, and she's a very enjoyable character, she's not the star of this comic. It is the story itself. So with the story's momentum being stopped, I felt as though it hurt it a bit. This was still a good issue with actually a better backup than the previous one. The backup is dealing with a guy that sells his soul to a wizard. It's actually really better than I'm making it sound. Um, on the whole, I'll give this a solid 3.5 out of 5. It's a good story, but it did stop the fantastic momentum we were having um, with Amethyst. Moving on to a Marvel title, and this would be FF. So I said before, the only reason why I'm reading FF is because She-Hulk's on it. And basically, Johnny Storm has returned from the trip. He's older. He has his arm and eye and leg missing and all that junk. And he says that the evil power of Doom is what took out the Fantastic Four. And the FF must band together and take on Doom once and for all. And that's basically the gist of the issue. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good is the character interactions, particularly between Miss Thing and Ant-Man, and bringing the team together, and actually them coming to the decision like, let's just take out Doom. Let's just take out Doctor Doom and get rid of him. Don't want to deal with him anymore, which is good. Which is good. The art was good, and I felt the dialogue on a whole was strong. Bad is, we know this isn't Johnny Storm, or we know that this isn't the true end of Johnny Storm. It's just predictable stuff. In addition to that, I felt as though there wasn't as much substance in the way of moving the plot forward that much, other than the fact that this is what beat us up. Maybe we should beat it up, kind of thing. And I think the major problem is with this FF team, we're not getting to see as much development with certain characters. Miss Thing and Ant-Man get some character shine here, but She-Hulk and Medusa, is that her name, Medusa? I'm still learning, yeah, Medusa. I'm still learning Marvel characters. Are pushed to the side. And with Medusa being an interesting character that I'd like to see more development of, and She-Hulk being one of my favorite Marvel characters, I feel as though they're being underutilized. Um, it wasn't a bad issue, but it didn't impress me at all. 2.5 or 2.5 out of 5. Um, Fantastic Four's main title is really what's better. Blue Beetle issue number 16, the end of Blue Beetle, the final issue. And it leads into Threshold issue number 2. Basically, this can be summed up as the last stand of Blue Beetle. He shows up on one of the worlds which the hunted games happen that we learned from Threshold. If you didn't read Threshold, basically think Hunger Games in space. And then basically Blue Beetle has to fight for his life to keep from being brought into the hunt. While this is going on, he sends a beautiful message to his family and to his friends about that, he doesn't know if he's going to come back. He doesn't know when, but he's going to try the best he can. Which is actually was going into good, bad, whether or not you should get it. The message was handled so well. While he's delivering this message, you see Blue Beetle fighting for his life. And it's very kind of a heroic last stand kind of thing, saying, while he's saying everything will be all right, it's really not all right. He's trying to ease the pain for his family. There's really some good character moments, and Jaime's dialogue was great in this also. I've enjoyed Jaime throughout this whole entire series. In addition to that, I like the fact that although this is the final issue of Blue Beetle, which has been a relatively good series, it's not the end of Blue Beetle. It is really just the continuation of Blue Beetle into another comic. Sorry, phone, I had to pause it for a sec. But the good thing is although this is the last issue of Blue Beetle, it's not the end of Blue Beetle. He'll go back into Threshold. He'll be a character in there for at least a foreseeable future. And I like Blue Beetle. I love the concept of the character. I love the look of the character. I like the character. Has he been utilized as well as he could have? No. This is the end of Blue Beetle, so I'll talk about him a little bit more in detail. The thing about Blue Beetle is I always saw him as kind of like DC's version of Spider-Man in a way, where He's a young character, unsure of his powers and the responsibilities that come with it. He has witty dialogue and snarky remarks, and he really has a lot of responsibilities put on his shoulder. I think the thing that hurt Blue Beetle this go around is, well, it's nice that they retold the origin and cleaned up and which needed to be done. I think they also stepped away from what made the previous series good, the utilization of his friends and family. I believe in Blue Beetle's original series, his family knew who he was and they were a big supporting cast, and this not so much. I think also the fact he didn't have a strong rogue gallery hurt him also. But as long as we get to see Blue Beetle continue as a character, I'm happy because he's a good character. So this issue I will give a 3 out of 5. Fun, good ending to Blue Beetle, but just as that, it's nice to see him continue to Threshold, and I will buy some issues of Threshold just to see what happens with Blue Beetle. Okay, so moving on to Green Lantern. We got a few Green Lantern titles, all Third Army crossovers. Green Lantern issue number 16, Rise of the Third Army. And I think the Third Army stuff is going to end soon, and we're going to go into Wrath of the First Lantern. Basically, this is Simon Baz interacting with the Squirrel Green Lantern, whose name I can't pronounce. Is like B-N-R. Benar, I don't know, whatever. And he's interacting with the Squirrel Green Lantern. I'll just call him Squirrel, and trying to learn and utilize his powers. And it's kind of a run-on gag throughout the Green Lantern comics why he carries a gun. Even Guy Gardner goes, "You know, you have the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. Why do you have a gun?" And he said, "Well, the thing runs out of energy." That's because you're an idiot. Why do you have a gun? So, kind of funny how the run-on gag with him having a gun, but. Yeah, so he's trying to learn how to utilize his Green Lantern powers and to really push the limits of what the ring can do. And he does something that no other Green Lantern, not even Hal or Sinestro, has done. We get more of Hal and Sinestro towards the end, who was the hooded figure, which was kind of a shocker. Um, should have seen it coming, but they did very well. Um, so we see who the hooded figure is and what needs to be done for Hal and Sinestro. The one thing is in this throughout it, Squirrel says that he was locating Hal Jordan's ring, but which he says is on Simon Baz. But the thing that kind of throws me off is wasn't that Sinestro's ring? I know Sinestro and Hal shared a ring, but at the end of War of Green Lanterns, I could have swore Sinestro got a ring and Hal's ring was taken away, but Hal's ring wasn't given to Sinestro. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I read War of Green Lanterns, but I believe Hal's ring is just off somewhere, and Sinestro's ring is the one that Simon Baz is wearing. What I also like, excuse me, is the fact that Simon Baz ring chose him because he has qualities of both Sinestro and Hal Jordan. Bad about this. I kind of just went into the good, bad one tonight. You get it. Bad about this. Nothing really bad. It was a solid issue. It was fun, and I felt as though the pace was getting a little bit better because Green Lantern has been kind of slow moving for the past few issues. I'll give this a 4 out of 5. Green Lantern was good this week. Green Lantern Corps. So Simon Baz guest stars in this. Basically, Guy Gardner tries to get his life back together, and with the help of Squirrel and Simon Baz, he's able to kind of do it. And it's really just them dealing with the Third Army. I don't know if I can really go too much in detail about this because it's really just that is them dealing with the Third Army. And in that, everyone felt in character, everyone mingled well with each other. The story just this was actually a pretty good issue. If I'm thinking back on it, it was fun. It handles itself well. It was a good crossover issue. I'll just give it a 3.5 out of 5. And I know I'm not going into detail with this review, but it almost feels like a continuation of the previous issue. Green Lantern New Guardians issue number 16. If there was a Green Lantern issue to read this week, it'd be this. Basically, Kyle is trying to master the last power of the spectrum, which is love. He's mastered everything else if you don't count life and death. And he needs to master love. Ganthet shows up, and Ganthet attacks the Star Sapphire's home world. And basically, Kyle needs to fight the person in the Green Lantern that Corps that he cares about the most. Brainwashed, desensitized, pretty much lobotomized Ganthet in a very emotional battle between the two of them. And something happens at the end of this. Something you don't see coming. At least I didn't see coming. And something that really kind of shows that Kyle is one, going to be a pivotal character in this, first Lantern thing. And two, Kyle could be the way that Hal Jordan comes back to life. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. The motion in here was really good. The action was really good. The story paced itself so well, and everything naturally came together. With this issue kind of, being slow, with this comic being slow in the previous issues, this issue sped things up a lot. Um, so it really handled itself very well there. The shocker at the ending was beautifully executed, and I didn't see it coming. Probably one of you guys may have seen it coming, but I didn't. So it handled itself well there. Bad, zilch. Green Lantern New Guardians was really good this week. So much emotion, and I really am looking forward to what will happen later on. 5 out of 5 people. I gotta get through these before my voice goes. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues left. I think I can make it. You? Let's hope so. On to Supergirl, issue number 16, part of the Hell on Earth story. Kind of continuing what we were doing last week. In a way, basically, it's Supergirl versus Flash. The general basis of this story is Flash shows up and he is ordered by Superman, stop Supergirl. Try not to hurt her, but you gotta stop her at all costs. And you get a fight between Supergirl and Flash. And that's it. It is Supergirl versus Flash. Who comes out on top? How they come out on top? Who's really better? You're just gonna have to read and see. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. The fight between these two was very well handled. The mixing and complementing of their powers was very well handled. The fact that Flash is so fast, with Supergirl being so powerful, them not knowing each other's power, I think it was just handled very well. The resolve of this fight was very good. I think it rings true to what the story should be about. And this isn't any step away from the main story. It only adds if you do read it. Bad, 0. Another 5 out of 5 issue. I think the fight between Flash and Supergirl was very fun this week. This was a definite must pick up. If not for the fact that it adds to the Hell on Earth story, it was just a good fight. It's kind of like a death battle. Like Goku versus Superman. Moving on to another Hell on Earth story, Superboy annual issue number 1. What can I say? This annual kind of it's the 5 minutes that Superboy and Superman are gone in an extra dimension, and them working together to try to get out of it, and facing one of the other prisoners that live in there. I'm gonna make it, I swear. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good is I like the dialogue between Superman and Superboy, the relationship that's kind of building here, the complements of their powers working with each other. Something Superboy can't do, Superman can. Something Superman can't do, Superboy can. And while this is a continuation of the Hell on Earth, it's not necessary to read, but it does help. And I think it was handled well because it was also Superboy's voice being utilized in this. Um, is it necessary for the Hell on Earth story? No, but it does add to it. Like, for example, in the next issue, which is, I think, Superman issue number 16, you're reading it, you go, oh, how did Superboy and Superman come back? You don't need to know. As long as they come back, that's what matters. But it's still fun read on the side. Bad, it's not necessary. Was same with Supergirl isn't necessary, but this was less necessary. Probably because it had less going for it in the ways of attraction for the reader. Supergirl had a kick-ass fight. This kind of just has fun dialogue. That's it. 4 out of 5. Fun. Just that. It's fun. On to the last 3. DC Universe presents Black Lightning and Blue Devil. The resolve of this story, Black Lightning and Blue Devil teaming up together, it's kind of just a basic team up story that we've had. How Blue Devil saves Black Lightning life, and how they kind of take out the big bad and trick the big bad, and you know, shake hands and kiss babies, and kind of walks out into the sunset. The thing that bothered me, and DC Universe Presents is getting canceled apparently. The thing that bothered me is this was, I think, a good introduction for Blue Devil into the DCU, but a mediocre introduction for Black Lightning. Now, I like Black Lightning. He's a character that I've always enjoyed. He's my favorite outsider, along with Katana. And I felt as though his introduction and his handling here was just kind of mediocre. In addition to that, I don't like his costume. I like the old Black Lightning costume. That was good. So good. What can I say? I mean, this was an okay issue, but it didn't add anything, and I felt as though, like Lobo, it was a mediocre at best reintroduction of these characters into the universe. 2.5 out of 5. On to Wonder Woman, issue number 16. So Wonder Woman and Orion kind of put their fighting aside, and they decide to team up with each other to kind of get this baby back, because apparently this baby's going to cause trouble. That's why Orion's there, to stop this dangerous baby new god thing. And technically it is considered a new god. But yeah, basically they decide to team up. While this is going on, Zola and Hera go out to get a drink, and they are met up with another god. A particular god who has a beef with Wonder Woman. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. I mean, the dialogue was solid here. The art was great here. It's nice to see Orion and Wonder Woman starting to team up with each other. I felt as though it should be natural that they eventually do team up with each other. And the story continues. It continues the pace it should be continuing. Damn I. Bad is I felt as though it is kind of like a stepping stone into the next issue. Filler, a lot of filler here. In addition to that, I would have liked the Orion Wonder Woman fight to be a little bit longer. But besides that, this was a good issue. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. Not the strongest Wonder Woman issue we've had, but it's still good, and I'd still recommend picking it up. And then the final comic this week, Justice League, issue number 16. The Throne of Atlantis story. So, basically, the Trinity is dealing with Aquaman and Ocean Master. And Aquaman's torn in between Ocean Master and the Justice League, or the Trinity. And Ocean Master says, screw this, and basically a fight ensues with the Trinity, Aquaman, and Ocean Master. And, one second. Sorry about that again. It happens. So basically, there's this big fight ensues, and something goes down, and the only Justice League member still around is Cyborg. And Cyborg does a badass decision at the end of this to kind of even the scales of the battle in the Justice League's favor. Or at least tries to. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. The tension felt really high in this issue, particularly with the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman versus Ocean Master. I felt this pretty good fight that goes on with the Trinity, Aquaman, and Ocean Master. Cyborg was utilized beautifully in this. Cyborg is one of my favorite characters. He's in my top 10 favorite comic book characters. I love Cyborg. I love the fact he's on the Justice League. I don't know why DC hasn't given him his own comic, but hey, to say the least, I love him to death. I felt as though he was handled well in this, and I felt as though he called some big shots in this too, which is great. So Cyborg was handled well, and particularly at the end where he does what he does, it felt good. The Shazam backup was fun, although I do believe that it would have been nice to have a little bit more fighting between him and Black Adam. It was still a good issue, good backup. And yeah, bad, none. The Throne of Atlantis has turned out, continues to be a fun story. And if I had to say a pick of the week, it'd be Justice League. A lot of people are saying, well, Andrew, that's probably predictable. You always say Batman and Justice League are your picks of the week. Yeah, but you know why? Because they're solid, good stories. And Justice League this week was such a solid, good story. Being a 5 out of 5 comic is definitely worth picking up. So, my throat is going away. I did have more that I wanted to talk about, but for now, I'm just gonna turn it off because I need to let this relax a bit. But yeah, so I will see you guys later. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.